Back to creepypasta.
Ah, yes.
This one's called Memory Card. Are you familiar with the Metal Gear Solid universe, Jomel?
Yes.
Nice. I believe you've never played the games, though, right? You've watched the cutscenes?
Cutscenes, but I've also backseat watched Daryl play 4.
Have you ever seen or played VR missions?
No.
Most people that have played Metal Gear Solid, like the franchise and are pretty involved with it, know of VR missions, but Metal Gear Solid VR missions came out right after the first one for the PS1.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like a bunch of instance-based puzzles, and you have to complete them within a certain time limit, and you get like little badges or whatever if you can. It makes these maps where there's no actual terrain. They're just like virtual reality blocks and then some troops that are going back and forth and stuff. This is one of the probably only pieces of media that references Metal Gear Solid VR missions. So you got to be thankful for that at least.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
This one's called Memory Card. A few weeks ago, my parents were driving up to see my cousins. We always visit them during the summer. On the way there, we drove through a little village. Some church by the road was having a car boot sale. A massive banner told us it was in aid of charity. My dad parked the car and got out, eager to have a little sniff around. He always had a thing for raking through people's old stuff and finding hidden treasures. While he was off treasure hunting, I decided to go off on my own little wander. Most of the stuff on sale was the usual crap. Cakes, ugly crockery, junk, etc. He really fizzled out after the first word or two there. He was
Yeah,
like,
right.
Cakes, ugly crockery, junk, etc. He couldn't name a third item. Someone was holding a raffle. An old woman was painting kids' faces, but only seemed to know how to do one animal. There were zebra-faced kids everywhere. He has humor. I remember a couple standing out over the happiness and sense of community. There was just a man and a woman with dead eyes taking no interest in their customers at all. All they did was just stare into the distance. Their table was full of kids' junk. You know, toys, magazines, crap PlayStation games, the usual. There were a lot of those Army Men games, a few sports games as well. I reckon I missed all the good stuff. I was losing interest when I spotted an old PlayStation memory card out of the corner of my eye. Written on the front in chipped Tip X was the name Sam. Now this was a real hidden treasure. I brought it from the couple and tucked it into my wallet. Neither said a word or looked at me when they took my money. How happy would you be if you got a memory card from a shitty garage sale? Is this a hidden treasure in the way that he phrases it?
I mean, I'd be curious about it. I don't think I'd be too ecstatic, but, you know,
What's the best case scenario?
it has a bunch of game memory, you know, like a lot of game memory on it, or a lot of games.
I don't know if you remember the
files or something.
PlayStation 1 a whole lot, but there weren't many blocks of memory on it. I think there's maybe like 32 blocks of memory or some shit like that. So you got like 32 save files. There weren't a ton. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I remember you couldn't save willy-nilly. You had to make some good. And to
Like-
think that somebody had a Metal Gear Solid VR missions save file on it. That's interesting.
Like, I'd definitely go
Was-
through it, you know. I'd be curious about it and just go through whatever was saved on it, you know.
And then odds are you didn't even play the same games that this guy did, and you just fucking, all right, cool. Now you have a PlayStation 1 card for an obsolete console from 20 years ago. And this guy's probably not an elite gamer either. He's not like a fucking wake and bake gamer. He's probably just like a fucking little kid who played halfway through and gave up on it, you know? You're not getting
Right.
like 100% save files of your favorite franchises. After that, I found my parents once more. Eventually, we got back in the car and they were once again on our way to our cousin's house. To my cousin's house. Not ours. That'd be really fucking weird. My cousin's house. We stayed there for a few days. I enjoy hanging out with my cousins, so I was quick to forget about my purchase. In addition, neither had a PlayStation, so it didn't matter anyway. When I got back home, I retrieved my old PlayStation from the attic to set it up. I had quite a few games too. I had all the classics. Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, Future Cop, etc. Future Cop? One of these things is not like the other.
I mean, I'm not really familiar with Future Cop. Is that an actual, like, PS1 game?
I don't think anybody knows. You know of Resident Evil, you know of Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, Future Cop? Let's look up Future Cop real quick.
It says, yeah, Future Cop LAPD.
Yeah, I don't know if this was,
Like,
it
all
says
the
it got
way-
favorable reviews.
Yeah, I don't think this lines up with the rest of those hitters.
Man, I can't wait till the next installment in the Future Cop franchise comes out.
Right.
I'm
so-
watching gameplay, man. It's fine. However, before I played any of them, I turned the console on without a disc in. I remembered you could do this to check out the contents of your memory card. I stuck Sam's into the slot and selected it. There were a few save files on it. Some of them were corrupt, just strange symbols hanging out there that displayed a strange series of characters instead of details. Others were games I'd never heard of. However, there was one I recognized, Metal Gear Solid. It was the VR missions disc, to be precise. It said it had been completed 100%. Ooh, man, he got a gem. I had both Metal Gear Solid and the VR missions, so I decided to check it out. I can remember quite a bit about the VR missions disc, but the parts that stuck out to me the most were the giant soldiers, the murder mysteries, and the photo shoot mode. I remember they were actually a lot of fun. I booted the game up. When I loaded the save, something odd happened. The title music stopped. This sounded especially weird because I had turned the volume on my TV so I can get right into the game, but there I was, suddenly plunged into silence. On top of that, there were no sound effects as I scrolled through the menu options. It was a little eerie, but chalked it up to the game or the console just being old and worn out. I remember you could wait for Naomi's legs to uncross to take a photo in photo shoot mode, and there was nothing there except a black space where a pussy should have been.
All right.
It was a little empty void left by the creators to disappoint a million pubescent kids. Amused, I loaded up photo shoot mode and I selected Naomi as my model, reliving his heyday. When the level loaded, I remember thinking the music sounded a little strange. It was nothing eerie, just a little odd. Maybe it was slightly slowed down or something. Again, I chalked it up to either the game or the console's old age. I made Snake duck down and looked through the viewfinder, staring at my Naomi's crotch and waiting for her to uncross her legs. I was determined to get that snap that had destroyed my perverted hopes and dreams all those years ago. A story of Jomel. It took longer than I thought, and the first time it happened, I missed it. Waiting again, I almost missed the second time. Luckily, my reflexes have been sharpened by generations of gaming.
Okay, dude.
Click. Gotcha. A perfect snap of the little black zone where her pussy should have been. I smiled to myself and I shook my head. It was funny that I'd gotten so excited over something all those years ago and also now.
Well, at least he's aware of it.
I was getting a little hungry for pussy, so I decided to take a break. I was just about to head downstairs for some food when I noticed something. I could hear crying. There were little sniffles and short intakes of breath. At first, I had no idea where it was coming from. For a moment, I noticed it was behind me. Then I realized it was coming from the game. I remember getting confused, sitting there to listen to some voice coming from the TV speakers. I just couldn't figure out why it was happening. It started getting louder and a little bit more hysterical. I figured it was coming from Naomi. I tilted the camera upwards, wondering what the fuck was going on. Just as I got to her face, a horrible wall tore from my whale, not wall. A horrible whale tore from a horrible whale. A horrible whale tore from my speakers and scared the shit out of me. Naomi was screaming at me. I just had time to register her twisted mouth and horrible eyes when I gasped and dropped the controller. It landed on the ground on a button and the game came out of the viewfinder mode. Snake was just kneeling there in front of her. I stood there shaking, watching as the characters seemed to stare at one another. I could no longer see Naomi's face, just her pussy. I couldn't tell if she had that horrible look across it. There was no one in my house. My parents were still at work. I jumped forward and turned the console off. A little while later, I was laying on my bed thinking about that horrible face when it dawned on me that the characters in the game actually don't have eyes. Just a darker shade of pixels. Their mouths never opened either. This is just PS1 graphics, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're overanalyzing some pixels here.
Find me one game where their mouths moved on the PS1 when they talk, and I'll fucking show you a liar. Naomi's mouth, however, had been twisted open. Her eyes were almost photorealistic. What the fuck? After a while, I convinced myself I had imagined the horrible details. You just always had to in situations like that. It was just some lame kid saved that he had someone fucked with and managed to scare the shit out of me with. I wondered what else he managed to do with VR missions. Later that night when my parents were home, I finally got the nerve to turn the console back on. I selected photo shoot mode and chose Naomi as my model again. All right.
Didn't learn the first time.
All right, so that was a little creepy, but ball is life, I guess.
Yeah, right. We'll just keep going with the same thing, you know, that we just saw something fucked up happen.
About to fucking slam dunk my junk. When the level loaded, I knew right away that something was wrong. The stage was empty except for Snake. Naomi was nowhere to be seen. There was no music either. It was just the title screen. I ran around a little and the footsteps sounded louder than they should have been. They sounded real too, like high quality sound effects recorded in a great hall. The whole thing was unnerving. But I kept telling myself that it was just some whiz kid's stupid experiment. Still, I couldn't shake the horrible sensation that something else was at play. There was nothing on the stage except Snake. I decided to look through the camera's viewfinder again to scan the level for, well, anything. Panning around, I realized that all those graphics that usually floated in the background were gone. All the scrolling information wasn't there. The level was just floating in a black, silent abyss. Still panning, I suddenly spotted something in the distance, a vague shape in the darkness. Before I could focus on what it was gone. I had no idea what I saw, but it reminded me of one of those ghosts from Metal Gear Solid you could see if you took photographs in the right places. However, you could only see them when you left the game and examined the photos in the in-game photo album. They had been really creepy. I remember when I was a kid, I stopped looking for them because one had scared the shit out of me. Fucking shit all over himself. Still facing that horrible abyss, I took a photo roughly in the space where I thought I saw something. I turned around and started taking photos all around me, a few being where Naomi was supposed to be standing. I left the game afterwards. I was relieved to get out of that horrible place. He acts like this is a hell on earth or something like that. It's not that big of a deal. It's just an empty fucking VR missions level.
If anything, I would assume it was glitched.
The menu still wasn't playing any music. There were still no sound effects when I scrolled through either. I loaded up the photo album and began to shuffle through the pictures. The first one was of the abyss that surrounded the level, or at least I think that's what it was. It was just a black image with no features. Bro, you took a picture of a black image with no features, and you got a black image with no features. There were a few more like this too. I remember you could mess with the colors and contrast, so I played around with it, hoping I would see something. Nothing materialized. Eventually, I gave up. I scrolled across to the next image, the first shot of where Naomi should have been standing. What I was faced with was something completely different. It was a picture of a little boy tied up against the bed. It wasn't an in-game photo, but a real one. It was a real boy on a real bed with real ropes. The picture was slightly pixelated, but nothing compared to the low resolution of the game. Just at the edge of the picture, I can make out a leg. Someone was standing by the bedside. Something told me to turn the game off. Something darker told me to scroll to the next photo. I listened to the latter. The next photo made my stomach jump. Gloved hands were holding the boy's eyes open. They were forcing him to look at something off camera. The boy's expression was of absolute terror. A part of me was glad I couldn't see what he saw. I continued scrolling. They were torturing him now, cutting open his skin and mutilating him in ways I won't describe. The photos became more and more disturbing, never letting up. Each one was worse than the last. They violated him and tortured this young boy. I'd never seen anything like it. I never knew humans were capable of such acts. My body was shaking and my hands could barely hold onto the controller, but I kept scrolling through the pictures. I was able to stop myself. I came to another image. I was relieved to see it was no longer of the boy. This relief, however, was short-lived. I squinted at the screen, wondering what exactly I was looking at. Then it hit me. My insides did a little wet flip and I froze. I dropped the controller again, no buttons being pressed when it hit the floor this time. I was staring at this image, mouthing, "What the fuck?" to myself over and over. I stayed like that for a while, my body completely functionless as I gaped at the screen. It was a shot of Naomi with her legs uncrossed. It was the very first photo I had taken switching on the game. It was the photo that had started this horrible journey. Now, however, I could actually see her pussy.
Why?
It was...
That's such a build-up.
Dude,
Why?
This little kid got tortured and shit. They're fucking mutilating him. Had no idea how fucking humans could be so terrible. This is the 25% of people from the push the button fucking question that would murder all their family members. And
He's shocked to see some pussy.
something even worse.
Oh my god.
Now, however, I could actually see her pussy. It was a real image of a pussy, not pixelated or anything. It was just sitting right in front of me in incredible detail. If I were still a teenager, I'm sure I would have been delighted that all my hard work had paid off. Seeing dead children, being tortured, beating Metal Gear Solid, finding pussy.
Pussy.
Good job. I'm pretty sure every kid who tried getting a photo of her snatch back then would have felt the same, especially when compared. I think that's the first synonym for pussy he's used this whole fucking time.
What, the
Snatch.
Snatch? Oh wow.
Yeah.
No,
that's
here's my issue with this right now. He just kind of like blew off the whole child murder, and now we're going deep into his fucking pussy lore.
We're back in pussy lore town.
Oh my gosh.
It very much brushed it off. It's like you could take that paragraph out of the story and it didn't mean anything.
Yeah, honestly, like he was building. All of that was for build up for pussy.
You would
Like,
think
or-
it would have meant something.
Yeah.
I can tell you there's nothing. The story does not return to that point.
Oh, okay. Because I
It's
was
l-
waiting to see if he was gonna go back to the child murder scene.
No, it doesn't.
No, okay. Well,
The writer is just like, all right, that was that.
but look at this pussy though.
I guess he released this in parts, and when he came out with that part, they were just like, dude, bring back the pussy. Stick to what you know.
Yeah, honestly.
Give him a round of applause for the fact that he used snatch instead of pussy one time. Not saying it was the greatest word, but it was a
he
different
tried.
word.
Yeah.
There was an attempt. If I were still a teenager, I'm sure I would have been delighted that all my hard work had paid off. I'm pretty sure that every kid who tried getting a photo of her snatch back then would have felt the same, especially when compared to the black void that too many of us actually faced. However, I was far from aroused in this situation. I noticed the pussy was moving, pulsing with every breath, as though I was watching a movie instead of an image. It was like some voyeur spy cam or something, and it was squelching. Bro,
Is squelch the proper term for this situation?
has he ever seen a pussy? You know, like when you look at pussies, they don't just start breathing.
It's not like an apparatus,
The fucking Darth Vader of pussies over here.
right?
As I sat there, speechless, blood slowly seeped from the inside. Oh, that time of the month, I guess. Dribbling over her legs and lips and legs and spreading fast. When her pussy was completely caked in red, Naomi finally began to move her body. She was slowly leaning towards the camera. I really don't want to see her face, but I couldn't look away. Then she was screaming and staring at me with those horrible eyes and twisted mouth. She wasn't looking at the camera, but at me. I screamed back before she lunged. Out of nowhere, I found strength. I watched as my arm shot out from my body and hit the power button like he could have done this whole time. He was cool when he was looking at the child, the real life child being tortured and murdered and skinned alive. But Naomi's moving pussy fucking
No. Squelching pussy.
no more squelching. No more squelching.
Ah, Jesus Christ. We're just not gonna go back to that child murder, are we?
No.
No. It was so unnecessary. Like, did we really have to go through that slideshow of a kid getting murdered only to find out the pussy was like squelching pussy was the main encore for all this?
Yeah, it's like kind of a tactless thing to throw in there.
Like, he didn't turn it off at the first couple of images of that murder, but he turned it off at this point.
This is like fucking freaking him out now. The squelching pussy.
Yeah, that was the last straw. That.
Oh, no. It's because she was on her period and he thought it was really
Oh.
gross.
Yeah, there we go. So.
Ew. Her scream cut short. The scream went blank. I tore the memory card from its slot and held it as though it was some potent drug. What kind of fucking analogy is that? Simile, I meant. I realized I was breathing heavily. I kept staring at the name Sam and Tipex as my lung. I don't know what that means, dude. I keep reading that. Tipex as my lungs gradually relaxed. I never plugged it back in. That was the last time I ever played VR Mission. I still have the memory card in my drawer, but I daren't to open it. A part of me wants to bind the damn thing, but the bind? How do you bind a memory card? Just put a rubber band over it?
I guess. Going back a little bit, Tipex is a type of whiteout.
Okay.
It's a specific whiteout brand. I don't know why you just said whiteout.
Is he sponsored?
I guess. That's a weird place to put that sponsorship.
Are the fucking corporate heads at Tipex throwing this guy bones for this story?
Yeah, I don't think they'd appreciate squelching pussy.
What a way to market your fucking company.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because this is the only time I've ever heard of Tipex as a brand,
If you look hard enough, you can see the trademark.
along with squelching pussy. So, or squelching. Pussy.
They didn't need to use that word, squelching.
Yeah, I looked it up too. It's a soft sucking sound such as that can be made by walking heavily through mud. So,
Yeah, no, I know what the word squelching means.
and for those who didn't,
Squelching is exactly how it sounds. When you say the word squelching, you don't have to like read a definition. You're just like, all right, yeah, that's squelching, all right. Maybe one day I'll give it another go just to see how messed up the rest of the game is. Perhaps I'll buy some of the other games and see how fucked up Sam's saves for them are. Maybe I'll try to figure out what games those other corrupt saves files are for. Maybe. But for now, well, the memory card can stay in that drawer until I'm ready.
does he ever go back to those games? Like, does he have other stories around those games?
I don't know.
God, I just can't get over the fact how he just.
That kid died for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Dude, you would think that he would give this memory card or take some pictures and report it to the authorities and whatever else. He just kind of like looked through it and was like, "Wow, this is really fucked up." And then he was just like, "But what about that pussy? Oh shit, it's squelching and bleeding now? The pussy was moving. Dude, that was my favorite plot twist. Was when you fucking finish the paragraph and the next paragraph comes and it says, the pussy was moving. And I was like, what? Whoa, what a terrifying twist.
That is such an intense moment there. Jeez. A lot of creepypastas or writers, creepypasta writers like to do the good old fucking bait and switch. I feel like it's gonna go somewhere with that dying kid or some shit like that, other than the pussy. But like, you know, we're not gonna. I don't know. It just seemed like it was just so random.
You start seeing this kid, he's like bound up and there's somebody else there, and then he starts getting tortured and skinned and all this other shit and murdered right in front of your eyes. And you could argue that at this point is the most compelling that the story will get. So you're like, I wonder where it's gonna go from here. Maybe something else interesting. But he's like, all right, no, like the fans want the pussy. The fans want the pussy. The fans want the pussy. We got to give them what they want.
I mean, what do the fans say? There's like 22 comments on this thing.
There's comments?
Yeah, right there. See, 22 comments on memory card.
Get the fuck out. The ending was pretty cliche. You could have added more to it. It was good until then, but video game creepypastas are hard to make. Still pretty good overall, except the ending. It was funny when you read something in here and you've experienced it before. This made my insides twist. I love that you made a pussy seem horrifying. Did he?
I mean, you definitely emphasized it quite a bit more. You seem so captivated by it, too.
Hey, let's look at Eyeless Blake 37, who has a Five Nights at Freddy fucking avatar. I wish I could see Naomi's pee and then get the shit scared out of me. Next comment. I wish I could see Naomi's pussy, then get the shit scared out of me. Next comment. Sorry. Didn't see the previous comment posted.
He didn't even try bothering deleting the first comment.
He just wanted everybody to know that he wishes he could see Naomi's pee.
Those were 1 minute apart, too.
Oh, like, shit, you're right.
They were just 1 minute apart. It's not like he left and then came back.
I think he pressed the submit button, and then he was like, this is taking too long. Types up another one. I didn't think I conveyed my message perfectly the first time. I referred to her junk as the pee and not the pussy, which it should have been.
Fair.
Maybe my fans will get confused. Butter Knight 48 says, I just went back and played Metal Gear Solid. Still an amazing game. Also, I love how you use the word pussy over 5 times.
I mean, if you look down, it says apparently you said pee 6 times, so he counted. Is no one here talking about the dead kid? They're just talking about the pussy.
This is literally the worst thing. Why are you trying to make vaginas scary? Also, why torture a little kid for any reason other than shock value? Things that are shocky aren't scary, they're shocking.
There we go. The one guy that actually mentions the murder. Or the torture.
He's like, is anybody else here fucking seeing this?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no one's talking about the dead kid. The last one that mentions about the kid.
I wanted to give this more points than I did, but the main character stuffing images he found of a little boy being tortured in a drawer to check out later instead of handing the memory card to the police made me deduct a mad lot of points for assholery and failed moral compass. This is a type of guy that wouldn't return curry that was accidentally sent to him in a delivery.
He's definitely the whole Africa dies kind of person.
Oh, yeah. This guy would kill the whole Africa.
The whole Africa. It'd be nice if you wrote more about the other games on the memory card. Expand that universe a bit, you know?
What other games have pussy plot points? This was born to be a one-shot.
That's true. I mean, if his whole thing is about pussy, then yeah, this is the only one, so...
You only get one shot, and he did not miss his chance to blow.
Nope.
I love Metal Gear Solid. Speaking about video games like horror games, it always creeps me out when a jump scare happens. Naomi gives me goosebumps. For me, this is one of my favorites. I was kind of reminded about my childhood playing Metal Gear Solid 1 with PlayStation 1 with this.
I mean, it's PS1 graphics. What did Naomi look like?
This is Naomi, but she didn't actually have a
character model.
I don't remember seeing her character model a whole lot. I guess that's her.
Yeah, with the skirt and all that.
Not the sexiest thing alive.
Yeah.
Naomi in the future really got an upscale.
I'm sure. Yeah, there we go. Funny enough, I've only had 3 creepypasta readings with you. A lot of them really write the same. They have a very similar format when it comes to their writing styles, or at least they're very close. You can tell it's a creepypasta writer I guess you could
Yeah,
say.
it really is like the same kid that just wrote all of them. But I think it's once you get to the age where you start grasping the English language a little better and you want to put that into literature, everybody just kind of starts at the same place. And I think this is where you're seeing the blossoming, bosoming of their writing abilities. And I think that's why it just all seems the exact same.
That's fair.
They haven't
Entertaining.
gotten- and they do grip you. You're like, man, what's this pussy gonna do next?
Right. It definitely shows like where they prioritize the story elements and what they want to focus on. It's easy to like see where they're trying to go with the story to make you uncomfortable as a reader, but you also want to be curious as to how the story moves forward.
Like you said,
it incentivizes you to read more.
They do a good job, like you mentioned, of pinpointing those like key elements that move the story forward, but they don't do a very good job at like they just add random shit, like random details.
I mean,
That's the thing about kids that write. They just start fucking adding details that the reader should not or does not give a fuck about, man. Talking about fucking zebra-faced kids everywhere and shit like that.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, you should have. I just remember it as being like his one failed attempt at humor this whole time. The whole weird kid thing that just didn't have any place, but he was like, I need to add something shocking. This isn't scary enough. All I've been doing is talking about pussy. Let's mix it up for a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get you what I mean. It's just like he has inside details that subconsciously puts it in his writing, thinking that we would understand what he's saying. It's just being able to relate to the reader and whatnot.
And unfortunately, you can't really relate unless you're not of age.
Yeah, right. I mean, to be honest, the whole Tipex thing still kind of like threw me for a loop too.
That's exactly my point, Jomel, is they mention all these like strange details.
I would have been fine if it was a Sharpie. Everyone knows what Sharpie is. You know, if it had like the name in Sharpie. Oh yeah, I like how the way it's written that it's being displayed in my head. I can really picture it. I mean, it's very visually stimulating, I guess you could say. Bleeding.
I am hardly aroused in this situation.
I'd give this a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Sonic EXE. I'd say 7 out of 10 just because it said the word pussy 6 times and it had that weird deaf kid.
And the random Tipex sponsorship. Like, this is the only time I've ever known anything about Tipex. Like, I don't know if this is what they want, but this is the first time I've ever been aware of this brand. And I feel like I should be upset.
And the last.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm never gonna use that information ever.
This is one of those things where you hear about it once though, and you're gonna see it from here on out.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like,
Yeah.
Tipex, that's a whiteout brand. How do you know?
Yeah,
about
that's
that?
what you use to write on memory cards.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I don't know who did. I mean, I guess with the whiteout pens, maybe.
Yeah, probably like or you have the whiteout brush.
I don't know. It's not a whole lot of real estate on a memory card to like. What was it? Right? Oh, Sam. So 3 letters. Not too
Yeah,
hard.
Sam is pretty easy. Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Memory card. That's all, folks.
Martin out.
Martin out.